Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Pro Wrestling Sim series. On to episode 3. I think in this episode we're going to focus on the month of February and maybe a little bit further as we try to continue to build up our local promotion, the Wild World of Wrestling, based in Connecticut. But we are certainly not the old WWF or WWE in terms of our prominence in the wrestling world at this point, but maybe sometime in the future we will get there. I know the first couple episodes of this series were relatively long, went into some detail on the game, my initial thought process about it, and also wanted to get into some of the functionality for those of you who aren't as familiar with the game and might be interested in playing it going forward. Uh, Tend to think I'm going to try to keep the episodes a little tighter in terms of timing going forward, but I'm still pretty enthusiastic about the game, so we will see what happens. Have made one move since the last episode in terms of bringing a new wrestler into our organization. You may remember that we had just 6 women wrestlers, and one of them, unfortunately, Isabella Baxter, is going to be injured for most of this next year. So we wanted to keep a storyline about the bitterness and anger between the women wrestlers going. We've got pretty good heat in that storyline right now, and felt like bringing another wrestler into the promotion might help with that. And we are definitely completely pandering with the wrestler, and I say that very loosely, that we brought on boards. Anastasia Romero has incredible looks, great star power, and she's very good at entertainment. But she has essentially no wrestling skill, as you can see. We're going to bring her on board as a face, and hopefully, between her lack of wrestling skill, but the attention that she will get from fans of the promotion, given her looks and star power, hoping that will continue to enrage the more qualified women's wrestlers and get that storyline headed in a even more exciting direction than it has been thus far. And we've continued to plan out a number of events. We've got our core 3W Live in Connecticut in February coming up in just 12 days. We've got the smaller show in Boston that we had set up earlier. We'll have our live show in March, and we're going to do 3 different shows in March. After the big live show, a shorter show in Atlantic City, and then we'll finish off with a show in New Hampshire. So March will be the first month in which we try to put 3 shows on board. At this time, when we think about the titles that are out there, still have not crowned either a men's or a women's champion. We do have a men's tag team championship, the dream team of Ricky Babylon and Garrett Carter, and Alani Hernandez and Gia Valdez are the women's tag team champions at this point. Going to focus, as we think about this matchup in February, on figuring out who some of the top women wrestlers in the promotion are, and hopefully continuing the storyline with them going, and also getting an opportunity to perhaps set up a title match among the women in the not too distant future. So we're going to have Emin Banks and Kirsten Holloway facing off. The newcomer Anastasia Romero facing off against Gia Valdez, and then Alani Hernandez facing off against Miriam Preston. So all 6 of the women wrestlers will have an opportunity to wrestle in singles matches, and we may just, since they are going to be automatic driven in terms of the results, hopefully the top wrestlers will shake themselves out. And as long as we have at least one face and one heel who come out as the winners, we may just set up a match in the not too distant future between the 2 winning wrestlers that we think have the best storylines behind them for the initial women's championship belt. We're going to have an angle with Romero signing her contract, and then the interview after that with some of the heels talking about their thoughts on someone, hopefully, of Romero's lack of wrestling talent joining the organization. As we move through the rest of that show, a couple bigger fights towards the end. Tag team matchup between Thunder and Lightning and the M&M Boys. Ricky Babylon will be facing off against Corey McKee. And even though Babylon is the top wrestler in our promotion, we had promised Lucian Gilliam a main event. So he will be the final fight of the night, going up against Keith Yates. Still trying to kind of figure out some of the top male wrestlers. Babylon clearly among them. Both Gilliam and Yates should also be in the mix as we think about who should be competing in the first men's title match down the line. There's also been a thought of perhaps having a tournament to get there, still deciding exactly what I'm going to do. We are going to have a matchup that we teased at the end of our last show between Malcolm McKnight and Garrett Carter coming up in our show after this one. So given that the jealousy of some of our top heels over Garrett Carter has been another storyline that we've been working on, going to try to preview that matchup, which will happen in Boston in a few weeks in our post-show festivities. And you can see here right now, expecting about 60% of the small sports hall in Connecticut to be occupied for this. Hopefully we can get more than that. Wages for this show are not going to be incredibly high, although we will have Garrett Carter, as we talked about, fighting in Boston. He's the most expensive wrestler for us to have, so he is one of a handful of people who will not be wrestling in this big show for us, which will save us some money. And we're closing in on our main event for February. Clinton Gordon's increased his booking fee. Kirsten Holloway looks like she could also be wrestling in the GGW promotion. Did just hear from Kason Hughes, who wants to have a match with Garrett Carter by March 10th. A little bit torn on this one. As I noted before, Carter is the most expensive talent to book in our organization. And as it happened, Kason Hughes is pretty generic mid-card heel. We're only going to spend $50 per appearance for him, certainly in terms of his overall profile. Probably not the typical person that we would set up against Garrett Carter. He has won the only match he's been involved in a tag team match as a member of the High Flyers with, actually he's a member of the Head Knockers. So he won that match with Jordan Cunningham. I think I will grant this wish. We do have, as you can see, 3 events between now and March 5th, and he wants this by the 10th of March. But honestly, I think I'm probably going to either script that Garrett Carter beats the heck out of him in a very short period of time, or maybe just put a relatively tight time limit on the match. Certainly don't want to risk losing Garrett Carter to injury in a match against somebody who really is not quite at his level at this point. But trying to keep the talent as happy as possible, and I don't have a ton of demands coming my way, so we're going to go ahead and accept this promise with the hope that eventually over these next few cards we will fulfill it, although it will clearly have to be in that 3W Live in March card, because we're not going to change our February card that we really like a couple days away. And in Boston, as we talked about, Garrett Carter also scheduled to fight Malcolm McKnight already. And we've made it to the 3W live event in February. Kind of outlined what we're trying to do here. Three singles matches involving the women wrestlers who have been feuding with one another, try to keep that storyline going. We're going to set up the Garrett Carter, Malcolm McKnight storyline and the match in a couple of weeks in Boston. We've also actually have Thunder and Lightning versus the M&M Boys going on right now, which is another interesting tag team matchup as we try to also kind of sort out who some of the more interesting tag teams that we could consider putting together. Right now the dream team, Ricky Babylon and Garrett Carter, probably looks almost unbeatable. But at some point, they're going to need to put their title on the line against somebody. So have Double Trouble versus the High Flyers, and then later on Thunder and Lightning versus the M&M Boys, as we try to start building some momentum with some of these tag teams and figure out someone who might be interesting for Babylon and Carter to face off against at some point in the coming months when they defend their title. And as we get the show going, as I mentioned, expected the good looks of Anastasia Romero to help the storyline. We'll see how the others react to her. And we did add her as a participant in the storyline when we brought her on board. So hopefully there will be some negative commentary from the likes of Hernandez, Holloway, and Valdez. You can see pretty good reaction to that storyline as well. Now we'll start moving into the matches. Again, we could be in a position where coming out of today, we've got an idea of which women wrestlers we want to set up for the title match there. Kirsten Holloway, the heel, defeated Emma Banks in this match. Decent final score, given that we're capped at 30%. Doesn't bother us at some point once we've grown the promotion, invested a lot more in some infrastructure and production values. Probably not going to be too happy with a score like that. But right now, since we're capped by our limited investments, not the end of the world as we kind of learn to hopefully put together some more compelling stories and matches in the future. Clinton Gordon, the winner. So the High Flyers defeat Double Trouble. Morgan Logan and Clinton Gordon both get a boost from that. Gia Valdez, Jeffrey Weeks, and Anastasia Romero interview here. Weeks interviewing Valdez about the newcomer Romero. They both made their entrances after that. Given the lack of talent involving Anastasia Romero, actually, I think I might have set her up to lose, but expect her to lose regardless. But I think that, can't remember quite honestly whether I had set her up to lose, but even if I didn't, Gia Valdez is much more talented, so I am expecting her to be the victory. And of course, that doesn't happen. The newcomer Anastasia Romero beat Gia Valdez, so I clearly did not. Now that I remember, all of the matches among the women wrestlers had automatic results. So Romero, the newcomer, beats Valdez in a surprising result there. So we've got a heel in Kirsten Holloway and a face in Anastasia Romero that have won the first two of the women's matches. The final one will be Alani Hernandez versus Miriam Preston, and then maybe we'll have an idea, depending on how that match goes, of who we want to match up for the women's championship belt. Interview of Romero about Valdez, very good results here. Malik Gillespie versus Colby Hendricks, and Colby Hendricks, a bit of a surprising result. Gillespie is one of the top heels in the organization, but still trying to feel out who really has the talent by letting a lot of these results come by virtue of wrestling skill. And Colby Hendricks gets the win and a little bit of popularity and momentum going. The final of the women's matches, Alani Hernandez versus Miriam Preston, and Alani Hernandez gets the victory. Um, Nothing against Kirsten Holloway, who won the first match, but I think the newcomer Anastasia Romero against Alani Hernandez for the women's championship belt, maybe something for us to consider in the not too distant future. Moving on to a tag team match, Thunder and Lightning versus the M&M Boys, and the M&M Boys, Marvin McNeil and Josue Melton with the victory over McKnight and Cannon. Final match, Ricky Babylon versus, actually the second to last match, Ricky Babylon versus Corey McKee. This is going to be an easy walkover for Ricky Babylon. Got a pretty good score thanks to primarily the star power of Ricky Babylon. Finally getting ready for the final match, Lucian Gilliam versus Keith Yates, although we are going to do an interview with Babylon following this match. Nice result there. Again, the star power of Ricky Babylon definitely overwhelms just about anything else in this promotion that we're working on at this point. Gilliam versus Yates, as I mentioned, had promised a main event for Gilliam. These are also two guys who could definitely be in the mix as potential contenders for the first men's singles championship bout. So the result here could be pretty important. And Keith Yates defeats Lucian Gilliam. Finally, we'll try to go to promote the upcoming fight between Malcolm McKnight and Garrett Carter. Keep that storyline going. Looks like a pretty solid result there. The show is over, as I noted, capped out at 30%. Certainly when we look at the scores here, we could have done better with that. So as we build out the promotion, hopefully our scores will get even higher, but feeling like we've got a little bit more momentum going as we head towards Boston in less than 2 weeks. Coming out, a few pieces of mail to react to. As we noted, we kept our promise to Lucian Gilliam. Morgan Logan's been offered a contract away from us, sold 287 tickets, so not quite the attendance we were hoping for, but looks like with $54,326 that we did make a little bit of money at that last event. Unfortunately, it looks like the storylines cooled down just a little bit, so we'll have to get creative to hopefully keep the momentum of those going. Although the promotions were pretty good, the results of the matches on the women's side were not particularly strong. Hopefully the promotion of this upcoming match between Malcolm McKnight and Garrett Carter will keep the momentum of that storyline going for us. And as we build things out and continue getting to know the wrestlers better, hopefully we can get some other storylines going as well. And we've given a little more thought to the upcoming Boston show and how to keep some of these storylines moving forward and ultimately get us to a point where we will have all of our champions filled in the next couple of months. Main show, Garrett Carter versus Malcolm McKnight, continuing the storyline there, and hopefully also giving us a good match in setting up those two under consideration to potentially get a championship bout is going to be the featured match. As I noted earlier, going to also have the Women's Tag Team Championship. Pain Train will be defending their title against Banks and Preston. Preston had asked me a while back for a title opportunity, so this will help fulfill that commitment. We've also decided that we're just going to pander and go with the two most beautiful women's wrestlers in the first women's championship match. So Alani Hernandez in the pre-show is going to issue a challenge. Newcomer Anastasia Romero, despite her limited wrestling skills, will answer that challenge, and we're going to have promotion owner Ricky Babylon set up a match between the two for the championship, which will be coming in the not too distant future. And then a big post-show promotion. Ricky Babylon and announcer Jeffrey Weeks are going to officially announce that someone will get the opportunity to face off against Ricky Babylon for the initial 3W Men's Championship. The 8 wrestlers who will be under consideration, the faces Garrett Carter, Marvin McNeil, Keith Yates, and Josue Melton. And the heels, Mark Cannon, Malik Gillespie, Malcolm McKnight, and Lucian Gilliam. Unsure if we are just going to ultimately make this some type of cage match with all 8 of them in there, and whoever survives the match will get the opportunity against Babylon, or we will just do a tournament between those people. Still have time to figure the exact format out, but we want to start moving in a direction where we can get a men's singles champion officially crowned at some point this spring as well. And Josue Melton has come to us, asked for a match of at least 15 minutes over the next month to display his ability to put on a great match. That could ultimately encourage us to maybe just have some type of battle royale, including him and the other 7 wrestlers that we mentioned, to determine who gets the opportunity to go up against Ricky Babylon. So we're going to make a promise to Melton that we'll give him a larger match, a longer match. Maybe it will be 15 minutes in a random match against somebody, but maybe it will be part of a very long match involving 7 other wrestlers. And looks like a little glitch in the program. 2 days later, Josue Melton, after we accepted his initial promise for a 15-minute match, came to us asking for another one. So I don't know. It looks like I've promised him a 15-minute match twice now. Not sure whether or not one of those matches will settle both of these promises, or I've got to do it a couple times with him over the next month. With events coming up on both March 5th and March 13th, we certainly have the opportunity to give him 2 matches meeting that criteria if we need to. And it's now time to begin our Boston event. We've simmed ahead to February 26th. Let's get the show started. Initial interaction here was the war of words, the promos, and some verbal sparring to get the championship match for the women's title between Alani Hernandez and Anastasia Romero set up, and good reaction overall to that. Ricky Babylon helped us. Given that he is so prominent, doesn't necessarily help his popularity to be involved in these promotions with some of these much less regarded wrestling personalities, but he is the owner of the promotion, so I think it's a price that he is willing to pay. Clinton Gordon with a victory over Xander Berry in a mid-card type match to get the card going. Now we've got a big tag team match, C Squared versus the Head Knockers, and the Head Knockers, Kason Hughes and Jordan Cunningham, with another victory. They remain a pretty effective wrestling team for us. Keep in mind, we did make that promise to Kason Hughes to get him a match against Garrett Carter at some point, which could be challenging for us to do, but we'll do our best to avoid making promises that we can't keep. Lucian Gilliam beats Josue Melton I guess we could have just made this match 15 minutes longer. That would have been smart to do if I was thinking ahead. Could have shortened some other matches given that we were kind of at time for Boston. But since we already had a 13-minute match for Josue on the schedule, could have easily at least fulfilled one of those promises we made to him by extending that. So that's definitely a unforced error on my part. Next segment, the Women's Tag Team Championship. We did give Marion Preston the opportunity, but her and Banks were losers. Alani Hernandez and Gia Valdez, the Pain Train, successfully retain their championship, 44% score. Head to the final match, Garrett Carter versus Malcolm McKnight, as we try to keep that storyline going as well. 54% score. Garrett Carter with the victory over Malcolm McKnight in the main event of the evening. And now we're going to cut the big promotion, announcing the 8 wrestlers that in some format are going to get an opportunity to fight against each other for an opportunity at Ricky Babylon to be named the initial 3W men's singles champions. Didn't go over incredibly well, only a 43% score. Cannon and Melton, neither has a ton of momentum. That didn't help. Interestingly, Cannon and Melton are probably the 7th and 8th most qualified wrestlers of the 8 that we were talking about here, so may have cast a little bit too wide a net in terms of the talent we brought on board, but hopefully if we do end up with some type of match involving all 8 of them or tournament involving all 8 of them, we'll get a better reaction than the score of this promo. Ending the show, as expected, 30%, which is our cap, is the show's rating. Given the relatively tepid promo at the end, decent score of 54% for Garrett Carter and Malcolm McKnight, and only 44% for the Women's Tag Team Championship. Feel like the storylines we've been working on might be losing a little bit of momentum here, unfortunately. They're both still at 60%, but certainly not trending in a direction where they are going up, unfortunately. 3 pieces of mail to deal with. As we noted, we kept our promise to Marion Preston. 293 tickets sold for the event. Colby Hendricks wants to be in the main event of the show within the next 4 months, or within the next 3 months, by May 27th. Don't know that Hendricks has really earned that, but I think there's probably a scenario where we can give C Squared a perhaps tag team opportunity against the champions, the Dream Team, to get their brains knocked in. If not, we can perhaps schedule a smaller event away from our main promotions and just have 4 or 5 fights on the card and give Hendricks one of those. But as I think about this, Colby Hendricks is a mid-card guy for us. Has been active this year with a 4-3 record, although most of that is away from our promotion. Looks like he's got a 2-1 record for us, primarily in tag team competitions, but I think I got to start drawing the line somewhere. He's not going to be particularly happy about it. Rejecting this promise will upset the worker, although I haven't actually made a promise to him. I'm just not going to fulfill his request. But I don't think he's a guy that's deserving of a main event in a show. He's not really important enough to us to feel like we need to force him into a main event. So I'm going to go ahead and reject that promise to Colby Hendricks. Looking at backstage morale, you can see that his relationship with us is, or with me, old school sports, um, not particularly strong, unfortunately. Did take a little bit of a hit, but doesn't look like we're in a real danger zone quite yet. And we've simmed ahead a couple more days, so we've now made it through the month of February. The 3W live event in March is coming up. I think one of the cornerstones of that will be the inaugural Women's Championship match for singles. We'll take a look at our finances, continue to make a little progress here. We made about $3,400 with our two shows in January, a bit more, close to $4,700 in the month of February. So definitely trending in a good direction. Certainly helped by some merchandise sales. Definitely a benefit for this promotion that we have a very popular and prominent wrestler like Ricky Babylon part of it, even if he is the owner of the promotion, still sells a lot of merchandise. Sponsorships a little bit lower, staff wages lower. You may remember from that first show we did when we had all 24 wrestlers who were part of the organization involved. The three subsequent shows, not everybody has been involved in, so that saved us a little bit of money there. So it's positive that at least our balance sheet is moving in the right direction, and we're making some money on our income statement. When we look at the type of production costs that we're going to need to be dealing with, $30,000 a month for music, $10,000 a month for staging and lighting, or pyrotechnics, or video production, $500,000 a month for professional writers. Making a few $1,000s a month isn't necessarily going to move us quickly in the direction that we need to get, but we are making progress little by little. You can see our popularity seems to be trending positively with each show. Finance is also moving in a positive direction, and we do have at least 3 shows that we're going to be putting on coming up here in the month of March. And who knows, maybe depending on what we decide to do as far as a tournament, maybe something else that we add to the calendar, as well as we give some thought to how we are going to decide who's going to be going up against Ricky Babylon for the men's singles championship. And I know we're about half an hour into this video, and I said these videos were going to get shorter, but given that we've been talking so much and strategizing so much about how to get these last 2 belts awarded, I think we're going to focus on that for the rest of the episode, and then that probably takes us through our next couple events. I won't get into as much detail, as I'll try to keep this episode to a manageable length of time. And I think going forward, since I do have some time to play the game around New Year's here with some less extensive work requirements than normal, fortunately, that I'm going to continue playing the game and moving forward, because I think it's going to take some time for us to build up enough money to really get things going. So I'm not going to necessarily give you a blow-by-blow or month-by-month of how things are going after this episode. So I'm also not putting out multiple episodes a day that very few people are never going to watch. Thinking now that I may sim forward a few months over a period of however long that takes, make some progress with the promotion. And then when I come back in the next episode, kind of update you on the key events that have happened over that period of time, and then hopefully have things set up to play through a couple of interesting storylines, championship matches, those type of things. And as we move forward with the series, certainly would love some ideas from viewers as to ideas we should implement, perhaps storylines we should consider. the type of people we should look to hire. Those of you who have followed my Out of the Park baseball series know that I get lots of very good ideas and useful feedback from our viewers who are in the OOTP baseball world, known as the Worldwide Scouting Department. We'll have to come up with a name to describe the viewers of this series and the advice that you offer me. So I'll be giving that some thought in the coming episodes. Have made a couple of hires to our roster since the last time we checked in. And when I did note, I had noticed this before, hadn't mentioned it, that the current tag team champions, Garrett Carter, and Ricky Babylon. Gary Carter was, of course, a baseball catcher. And then Gia Valdez and Alani Hernandez all have little belts denoting their championship titles. I think maybe Alani Hernandez is a cheat in the game because it looks like that title belt fits perfectly around her. So perhaps she is a wrestler who is just going to inevitably end up the champion of everything that she's trying to work on. But I digress. To the two hires that we've made, we've brought a personality on board. Not exactly sure how we're going to use this person, but we didn't have any personalities. Not a wrestler, not an announcer, not a referee. I think just somebody to potentially have on site when the matches are going on, get involved in some interviews, has looks, pretty good star power, and high entertainment value. Also relatively inexpensive, $50 per appearance. So we'll start using Cadence Chavez, hopefully, to move some of our storylines forward. Is selfish and does have anger issues, so could also perhaps add some personality quirks into our backstage that we haven't been dealing with too much recently. We also brought on a second announcer who's going to be a heel announcer, high commentary and entertainment value, and someone who's not looking for a ton of money, just $50 per appearance. So I think there could be some good value there. We've made Mustafa Johnson a heel announcer, so we now have a face announcer and a heel announcer to play off of each other. Again, potentially a personality issue with the fact that he's known to be a big partier. He's also, for 75 years old, based on this picture, the most well in shape and good looking 75-year-old I can possibly imagine in terms of how he's aged. So we'll see if the additions of Mustafa Johnson and Cadence Chavez into our roster of talent can help us continue to move these storylines forward and ultimately continue building the franchise of the wild world of wrestling. And we've got a few days till our big March show, and we are going to ultimately cap off the show with a Rumble with the 8 wrestlers in a Royal Rumble type setup over close to half an hour. One man will emerge from that as the person who's going to get to take on our promotion owner, Ricky Babylon, to become the first champion. So we've got a promotional video highlighting all of those wrestlers to start things off. We're also going to have a pre-show, and I've noticed that this angle template doesn't describe things properly. But when we look at this template, Malik Gillespie, I'm always saying Gillespie for some reason. Malik Gillespie is going to cut a promo on Garrett Carter. Garrett Carter's going to show up, and then Malcolm McKnight, who Garrett Carter just defeated in a match, and Malik Gillespie are going to beat up Garrett Carter. And then after that, we've got a third angle where Garrett Carter is going to be requiring some medical attention. So will that beat down ahead of Garrett Carter and others participating in the Royal Rumble impact Garrett Carter's chances of success? Other than that, a couple of women's matches, a couple of tag team matches, and then we will have the women's singles championship match between Alani Hernandez and Anastasia Romero after the big Royal Rumble to finish things off. Going to have all the faces talking and then interview with all of the heels and our new announcer, Mustafa Johnson, as we figure out who will be facing off against Ricky Babylon for the 3W Men's Singles Championship. We will look to do that match in Atlantic City in just over a week, and then probably finish off this episode once we have crowned both our women's and men's initial champions. Once we've got those champions in place, and we continue to get more information from these next two cards about who our most talented wrestlers are, I think we can really start giving some thought as to hopefully developing some more storylines and continuing to move this promotion forward. And it does look like I did promise Kaysen Hughes, who's kind of a mid-card guy for us, a match against Garrett Carter. That is not going to happen. I'm not going to move up Atlantic City, but I'm also not going to stop the big Rumble and the big event that's coming on this card that Garrett Carter is very involved in to give him a relatively meaningless match. Josue Melton is part of that 26-minute Rumble. So we'll find out whether that counts for a 15-minute match for him. I don't know why it wouldn't. And we'll find out, since he asked for the same thing back to back, whether or not that one match cancels both of them, or we will need to also give Josue Melton a longer match in Atlantic City to ensure we fulfill both of our promises to him. And as we get ready for our major live event here in March, Ricky Babylon, he's calling me boss, although he's the owner of the promotion, has the interest in showing his ability to put on a great match. Would love to have a match of at least 15 minutes before the 5th of April. Really perfect timing, quite honestly, because as we've been talking about, we're setting up the first title match between him and somebody else. So we will probably target giving him a long match in Atlantic City against whoever emerges as the number one contender out of this Rumble that we have coming up today. So a big day, expecting attendance of close to 320 people, which somewhat sadly would be the most ever at one of our cards. The women's champion will be crowned, and we will find out who will soon be wrestling against Ricky Babylon for the men's championship. So time to get this big show for us for March underway. The video hyping up the big Rumble that's going to be taking place soon. Very well received, 83% segment rating there. The beatdown, really not that great a rating. Garrett Carter does get attacked by Gillespie and Malcolm McKnight, but not an incredibly well-received promotion. Interestingly, though, the angle involving Garrett Carter receiving medical attention after that did get more attention, so perhaps that will get some more interest for the big Rumble coming up soon. Getting into the actual fights, Miriam Preston beat Kirsten Holloway in the first match of the day. Tag team match coming up, and Colby Tyler and Colby Hendricks, C-squared, defeat Double Trouble in a 2-star match quality, 65% match quality. So for us, a nice, solid result. Emma Banks defeats Gia Valdez in a match that unfortunately was a dud. One tag team match left, and then the two big features will be coming up. The High Flyers versus the Head Knockers, Jordan Cunningham and Kaysen Hughes, who I'm about to disappoint by not keeping a promise to him, get the win over the High Flyers. The loss to Morgan Logan and Clinton Gordon, pretty solid match quality for us. Jordan Cunningham gets the victory, although his performance was worse than usual. And now we get to the introductions for the first women's singles championship match. The good looks of both Anastasia Romero and Alani Hernandez gave us a great segment rating. Unfortunately, it's only 2 minutes long. And we will get ready for the inaugural women's championship match. I am assuming that Alani Hernandez, who is a much more talented wrestler than Anastasia Romero, is going to end up adding a singles title to the tag team title she currently holds. And that is the case. Alani Hernandez wins. Unfortunately, the match quality was absolutely brutal. Alani Hernandez is the new champion, got a popularity boost, but just a pitiful match quality, unfortunately. I think the fact that Anastasia Romero has that very poor wrestling talent of 7 in terms of her wrestling ability certainly didn't encourage this to move on, given that the relationship between these two is also part of that key storyline that we've been working on. A 20% score for an important match is a disappointing result that may contribute to that storyline perhaps petering out in the not too distant future. And now we move on to the Rumble. Josue Melton, Mark Cannon, Marvin McNeil, Malik Gillespie, Keith Yates, Malcolm McKnight, Garrett Carter, and Lucian Gilliam all battling each other in a Rumble match to find out who will get the opportunity to face Ricky Babylon to become the men's champion in a little over a week. And we got a good score, 55%, and helping the storyline, Garrett Carter, who was ambushed and beaten up by some of his foes before the matches got underway today, ends up emerging as the winner. 2.5 match quality, 70% match quality, which is, I think, the highest we've gotten to in the early stages of this promotion's development. And hopefully that performance and some good discussions between the faces and the heels about what happened in the matches will help keep that storyline moving forward. Moving on to the next segment. Good discussion between Ricky Babylon and the 4 faces that were involved in the Rumble for the opportunity to face off against him. And obviously Garrett Carter earned that right. And now we'll talk to the heels and perhaps some of their bitterness about what happened. Solid score there as well. As I mentioned, Gillespie, Cannon, McKnight, and Gilliam, the wrestlers involved. Mustafa Johnson doing the interviewing. And they were talking about Ricky Babylon and Garrett Carter. So perhaps some of their jealousy about Mr. Carter came out in that, which hopefully will continue moving that storyline forward. Even with the extremely disappointing women's championship match, still got to our cap of 30% for the show rating here today. And we'll start thinking about exactly what the book for Atlantic City in a week should look like. A few pieces of mail for us to respond to. It looks like both of the promises we made to Josue Melton were met, so good to know that including him in that long match helped. 342 tickets, the most we've ever had. Garrett Carter likes to receive a title win sometime before September. Gives us plenty of time for that to happen, so I am going to make that promise to him. We've got 6 months. We're not going to give Garrett Carter the victory when he faces off in this upcoming match against Ricky Babylon. I don't think Ricky Babylon, our promotion owner, would be too happy about us deciding that he's automatically not going to win that first title match, but I'll make this guarantee now, just in the case that Garrett Carter does succeed in the match. I'll have fulfilled my promise. The other angle that we have, even if we decide we don't want to dethrone Ricky Babylon, is that Babylon and Garrett Carter are currently our tag team champions. We could certainly put a scenario together where they lose the tag team championship in the coming months and then come back and win it, because that would also be a additional title win for Garrett Carter going forward. So a lot of options for us to think about with Carter over the next 6 months. And we've gotten another championship title win request, this time from Lucian Gilliam, one of the top heels in our organization. Given that we've got 6 months to try to make something happen, we're going to go ahead and accept that promise. He certainly could get an opportunity on the singles side, and he's also part of a pretty prominent tag team, which we'll be wrestling for us shortly, because we've been giving some thought to this big Atlantic City event that we have in less than a week at this point. We'll finally crown the final champion out there, give our final title out there. As you know, Babylon and Carter are our tag team champions. They'll actually be facing off for the men's championship. Alani Hernandez and Gia Valdez are our women's tag team champions, and Alani Hernandez is our women's champion. So not a lot of different names among the titles, among the 4 belts after we settle this men's championship in a few days. There's still only going to be 4 total names holding the 4 different belts that are out there. So could be an opportunity for us to make things more interesting by getting some new names involved. The storylines, the Garrett Carter one is getting a little bit more momentum, and we're going to talk about some things that we're going to do to maybe give that one a little more juice going forward. And we still have some ideas to keep the we don't like each other storyline going as well. But as I said, this event here in Atlantic City, ultimately getting all of the belts settled, will hopefully help put us in a position where we can start making some more interesting storylines going forward. And although the jealousy of Garrett Carter has to date been coming from the heels, Lucian Gilliam, Malcolm McKnight, and Malik Gillespie, we've added 2 other people to the storyline. His tag team partner, his championship tag team partner, Ricky Babylon, who he will be wrestling for the title in just a few days, as well as the new personality who's joined our promotion recently, Cadence Chavez. And the reason they have been added into this burgeoning storyline is that when we think about the show in Atlantic City in just a few days, we're going to kick things off with Garrett Carter being interviewed about Ricky Babylon by Mustafa Johnston ahead of their championship match. And then, of course, there will be an interview of Ricky Babylon by Jeffrey Weeks about the upcoming title match with his tag team partner and friend Garrett Carter. But then the last thing before the matches begin is we will go backstage, and there will be a romantic moment between Garrett Carter and our personality, Cadence Chavez, ahead of the match. And when we ultimately get to the men's championship match between Ricky Babylon and Garrett Carter, which, as you know, will be a 15-minute plus match, which will ultimately, hopefully, meet the promise that we've made to Ricky Babylon for a longer match. One other thing to note is that Cadence Chavez, who works for the owner of the promotion, Ricky Babylon, but was just found backstage in a romantic moment with Gary Carter, is going to be ringside. What's her role possibly going to be there? and will it have any impact on what happens as far as the result? Mentioned that we're also going to have a hopefully interesting tag team match between the Damage Squad and the M&M Boys. The Damage Squad is a team that includes Lucian Gilliam as well as Malik Gillespie. And we just talked about we may need to give, and actually do need to give, given the promise that we made, a title opportunity and a title win at some point to Lucian Gilliam in the coming 6 months. But this is going to be an Inferno match, doing a special match here as far as the gimmick. And for the Inferno to win the match, an opponent must be lit on fire. So a little longer match there for 17 minutes. Hopefully crowning our first champion, having someone lit on fire. A pretty prominent match between Malcolm McKnight and then Xander Barry and Morgan Logan in the first match. Even though there's only 4 matches, will give us plenty of content. We'll crown our first men's champion. And could there be some rifts coming in the relationship between our current tag team champions, the Dream Team, Ricky Babylon and Garrett Carter? We'll find out afterwards. There's going to be an interview that Mustafa Johnson is going to do with Ricky Babylon after the championship match about what's going on between Garrett Carter and Cadence Chavez. And then we'll finish things off with a brawl between Miriam Preston and Alani Hernandez. Try to keep that we don't like each other storyline moving forward. And going to take many people to break them up. Perhaps that could foreshadow a potential title match between Preston and Hernandez for the women's championship down the line. And Colby Tyler, mid-card guy for us, part of the C-Squared tag team, as well as an occasional single wrestler. It just raises booking fee from $40 to $100 after we get through this Atlantic City event. We may take a look at some of the talent within our organization. I'm not sure, given our financial strengths, that Colby Tyler is delivering enough bang for the buck for us to be frequently booking him at a $100 price rather than a $40 price. And we are also about to officially make Kason Hughes upset, given that we aren't going to give him the match that we promised him against Garrett Carter. So Kason Hughes officially disappointed with us. You can see that we've got a very difficult relationship with him at this point. He is disappointed that we did not give him that opportunity to battle against Garrett Carter, but just couldn't, in good conscience, give him that opportunity with some of the other stuff that we've got going on. And Xander Barry has come to us wanting a longer match request. We will go ahead and accept that promise before we officially begin things today. Xander Barry currently set up for a 12-minute match. We can only add no more minutes, unfortunately, so we may need to look to take them from somewhere else, but I think we will shorten up Malcolm McKnight versus Keith Yates, and then we will also steal a minute from the men's championship match. At 15 minutes, it'll still meet what Ricky Babylon's looking for, but we'll go ahead and fulfill that promise to Xander Barry right away without having to make any other special arrangements for him. So the timing of that request worked out pretty well. And the fact that I actually remembered he was going to be competing here today before we got underway. So expecting some fireworks here today, figuratively in the case of crowning our men's champion, and perhaps literally in terms of the Inferno match between a couple of high-powered tag teams. The show gets underway. The Angle talking to Garrett Carter about the upcoming match with Ricky Babylon gets a pretty good reaction. Ricky Babylon gives a great interview about the upcoming battle with Garrett Carter to Jeffrey Weeks. And some decent momentum. Garrett Carter and Cadence Chavez have a romantic moment behind the scenes ahead of the match. And as we talked about, when Garrett Carter's looking to become the champion against the promotion owner, Cadence Chavez will be ringside in just about an hour. Moving on to the first match of the day, not a particularly successful match between Morgan Logan and Xander Berry. Morgan Logan gets the W. Moving on to a couple of more talented wrestlers, Malcolm McKnight and Keith Yates. Unfortunately, this one was a dud. Again, these final scores are not particularly high, but given that we're capped at 30% right now, given our meager finances and our low promotional values, got plenty of time to learn how to improve here. Moving on to the Inferno match. I would hope that that doesn't end up being a dud. Not a great match, 50% match quality. Marvin McNeil and Josue Melton get the victory over Lucian Gilliam and Malik Gillespie in the Inferno match. Only a 42% final score. Introductions now before we eventually crown the first champion of the 3W Wrestling promotion. Garrett Carter gets a little boost from his introduction. Star power of Ricky Babylon adds to the story quality. And the first men's champion is Ricky Babylon with the W. Star power added to the match. Garrett Carter got a good reaction. His performance, however, was much worse than usual. And Ricky Babylon, the owner of the promotion, perhaps not surprisingly, is the new 3W Men's Champion. Decent match quality and a good final rating. Let's find out in the debrief if there's any juice regarding the Garrett Carter and Cadence Chavez romance from Ricky Babylon's perspective. And very big final score. So given that we have added Cadence Chavez and Ricky Babylon into that storyline involving Garrett Carter and the heels, perhaps that will get that storyline a little bit more juice coming forward. And perhaps there are some cracks in the tag team championship relationship between Babylon and Carter that we'll be able to work on going forward. Maybe one of them will even do a heel turn in the not too distant future. And then perhaps previewing a women's championship match, another pretty well-received promotion with Miriam Preston and Alani Hernandez talking smack to one another, staring each other down, eventually engaging a brawl and being pulled apart. Certainly their good looks and their star power contributed to that segment's success as well. So ultimately, it was a good day, capped at 30%, but think hopefully we did do some work to get those storylines moving forward. Before we finish things up, we'll check our mailbox and check in on the storylines and then check in on the championships. You can see we don't have a lot of outstanding commitments here, so I think we've got some good news in the mailbox. We gave Xander Berry his 15-minute match. We gave Ricky Babylon his 15-minute match. Dennis Horton, his left, he had very low skills as an agent, so we hadn't been using him much, so he's no longer part of the promotion. 3W Atlantic City, 339 tickets sold, over $5,000 in ticket sales. I think it's the first time we've eclipsed that number. Looking at the storylines, a little more juice in the jealousy of Garrett Carter storyline, with the addition of Chavez and Babylon into that storyline. Still kind of just lingering here with the we don't like each other storyline. Not going to give up on it quite yet, but certainly feel like we're going to have to do something interesting to get some more momentum going there. So as we've made it through these first 2.5 months of this promotion, finally have champions everywhere. Ricky Babylon is your men's champion after defeating Garrett Carter. Babylon and Carter right now are the tag team champions. They haven't made a defense yet since winning the title. Uh, will they have a good enough relationship to want to wrestle together after just facing off in a title match where it looks like Garrett Carter's potential romantic partner was ringside, potentially rooting against the owner of the promotion. On the women's side, as we've talked about, Alani Hernandez is your champion, and Alani Hernandez and Gia Valdez are your women's tag team champions. They've already made one successful title defense. We could be seeing Alani Hernandez trying her first title defense in the not too distant future. So, going to start thinking about getting people to defend these championships more frequently. Going to spend a little time offline thinking about what we can do to kind of enhance things. One of the things that I am thinking about doing, and this may sound relatively minor, but I think it'll help me in terms of ultimately building up my interest in what's going on here. We got a lot of just dudes, a couple of Colbys, a Corey, a Malcolm, a Keith. May start giving some of these wrestlers more interesting nicknames and gimmicks, just so it's not just a bunch of generic guys. As I noted, our titles are very concentrated. Garrett Carter and Gia Valdez, both part of tag team championships. Ricky Babylon holding both the singles championship as well as the tag team championship on the men's side, and a similar situation for Alani Hernandez among the women. So we've made a little bit more progress in this episode, I think. Taking a look at our finances, we've now got over $60,000, so we continue to make some money. We're going to end up, when all is said and done, with the promotion that we've got in New Hampshire 12 days from now, having 3 events in New Hampshire. As I noted, it's conceivable that I will sim through a few of these events before our next episode, continue hopefully building out some storylines, building out the promotion. Anything real interesting that I do, anything real interesting that I learn, I certainly will report back to you on at the start of the next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.